Most of the time, people think that they need to change their external circumstances in order to achieve their dreams, when in reality, the most impactful solution has been within all along. So, doing the inner work is what is going to bring you the life of your dreams, and enjoy the process along the way.
Welcome to Reinventing the Arena, the podcast that guides you through the powerful journey of aligning, embodying, and rising into your most authentic self. We dive deep into the transformative power of doing the inner work because the most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. When you align with your authentic self, you naturally attract the relationships and experiences meant for you. I'm your host, Molly Conley, a coach who's passionate about helping you uncover who you truly are using human design, NLP, and self-empowerment tools. Here we explore the art of aligning with your authentic self, embodying your highest potential, and rising above old patterns to create a life that resonates with who you truly are. Whether you're seeking deeper fulfillment in love or your personal journey, this space is designed to inspire your evolution. Together, we'll explore self-discovery, share transformational stories, and uncover the energetic shifts needed to create the love and life you truly desire. This isn't just about change. It's about fully stepping into who you were meant to be. So, lady, align, embody, and rise. Welcome to your journey of self-transformation. Welcome to Reinventing the Arena.
Hey, lady, welcome back to the podcast. It is so great to have you here. Before I get started today, I have a few things that I wanted to go over. First, have you found any of these episodes, either the recent ones or things from the last few seasons, very helpful? If so, I would love it if you would go write a review, as it's going to help other women like yourself not only find the podcast, but also start their own transformation. I know that this podcast has been picked up on a variety of places, even like Amazon Music. I'm not even sure how that happens. But I know that people have left star ratings on Spotify, but written really does share your voice and allows other people to say, is this really for me or is it not? And I would love for you to do so. I also recommend, because I have something coming up that I am going to share with you at the end of this month, when you do this, take a screenshot and save it. I will be having a contest that I can't wait to share with you. Also, if you have been interested in having a more of a personal touch with these episodes, you can watch them on YouTube. I'll include a link in the show notes, or you can actually just search Reinventing the Arena on YouTube. And if you're already there watching, thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you. In other news, I have really been enjoying coaching a handful of my previous clients in my 3-month momentum series that started in April. It has been so nice to see some familiar faces and support them in where they are right now, whether that's actually where they want to be or not. It's just always so wonderful to reconnect with them. With that said, I have to do a shout out and celebrate a previous client of mine. She was one of my first clients when I started back in 2020, and we evolved together. She actually came to me when I was doing athlete transition coaching, and I actually mentioned her a few episodes ago about how she was so happy that she finally found a man who loved her for who she was. She was just completely showing up as her authentic self, and this attracted the man that was right for her. And so she had sent me this wonderful message, this DM on Instagram, and I asked her permission if I could share it with my followers, if I could, use it on my website, and she said yes. Then when I went to record this podcast was it maybe in February? I shared how happy I was for her, that she just, really stepped into being herself, and this then attracted the man for her. Not even 2 days later, she's engaged to him. Like, this wonderful full circle moment. I am thrilled that not only because she's engaged, but she really wholeheartedly believed that showing up as herself would allow the man of her dreams to walk into her life and help her find love. if you don't follow me on Instagram or if you're not on my email list yet, you may have missed my recent blog celebrating her transformation and her journey of finding the man of her dreams. So I will include that link in the show notes as well as when she joined me for an episode on the podcast. We coached on her waiting season. So I'll include that special episode in the notes as well. Moments like these are the celebrations that we all dream of. But most of the time, people think that they need to change their external circumstances in order to achieve their dreams, when in reality, the most impactful solution has been within all along. So, doing the inner work is what is going to bring you the life of your dreams, and enjoy the process along the way. So, in previous seasons, previous episodes, I have shared lesson upon lesson about relationships and inner work. I had guests to talk about their specialties. I had even my husband join for a man's perspective. Those episodes start off with couch conversations. But listening to a podcast does not take you very far. It just like reading a self-help book doesn't take you that far either. Yes, it develops self-awareness, yet it doesn't get you moving unless you start taking action. This is part of the reason why I have shared human design with you. Human design is a tool for your self-transformation. It's not putting you in a box, it's not a psychic reading, and it's not like foretelling your life's future. It is a path to your alignment. So my hope is that by the end of this episode, you will see that your chart is both a mirror and a map reflecting on who you are and pointing in the direction of where you can reclaim or reinvent yourself back to who you truly are. So make a note right now to take action after the episode. If you haven't already, go to my website and create your chart, download it. Because once you do, over the next few days of that, you will receive a series of emails that are personalized to you about your chart to help you understand it more. So let's get into what human design really is for. So yes, it's about you getting into alignment. Yes, it's a way for you to start understanding how your energy works, how you make decisions, and even how maybe you can see working with someone else that's a different energy type, or learning about your profile type, which I have not gone into here on the podcast. But it is really a way to show you where you are currently conditioned. And I remember when I first pulled my chart and I was like, okay, this doesn't make any sense to me. But the more I started to play around with it, the more I started to engage in my energy type, the more I started to test out my strategy of responding, I really did see how things would just go along with ease during my day, or even during a certain or in a certain area of my life. The ease just started to flow. That is about getting into alignment. So when we first start looking at our charts, maybe it's not so clear, which is why I have gone through a variety of areas, mostly the basics of human design in these first few episodes of this season, because it really does start to give you validation about who you really are, your natural energy, your natural way of making decisions, and even your rhythm. I will say that if you have been out of alignment in certain areas for most of your life, it's still going to feel hard. And one example that I like to bring up is the just do it energy of a manifester. I even shared this on my Instagram stories today it was a wonderful quote, something about like, if you really want to have it, go make it happen. That is manifestor energy. If you are an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, if you're a woman looking for love, if you are someone who's like, I need to invest in the stock market, or I really want this for my career, or I really want that house, or I really want X, Y, and Z, and you've been forcing and forcing and forcing yourself, are you really a manifestor? I highly doubt it. You could be out of alignment. You could be a projector. You could be a reflector. You could be a generator, forcing yourself to fit into a box because someone told you to just go make it happen. when 8 to 9% of the population is a manifester. And that's over across the world. That's just not my little town. That's not my state. That's not this country. That's over the entire world population. 8 to 9%, which now I need to be like, how many millions of people is that really? But with that said, if you're not a manifester, how much have you been out of alignment? How long have you been told, just go make it happen? And so this is part of the deconditioning, even with your energy type, that we have to look at. For example, with me being a generator, one of mine is being, and generators make up 35 to 36%, just like manifesting generators. We really need to sit with our joy. We really need to do things that make us happy. And I don't mean just like things that light me up. I'm like, even here on YouTube right now, if you see this, I'm like holding my cup of coffee. It's 2:40 in the afternoon. I want to have a hot beverage, and maybe I should be having tea and not coffee, but coffee really does make me happy. This is a little sign of joy for me that I get to bring to my every single day, which then does generate more joy for the next thing in my day, which then generates the next thing in my afternoon, my evening, and it just keeps compounding on each other. So being able to naturally find those little things of joy for a generator is great. And then completely being grateful for them is another way to like amp up your frequency. But I say this because in years past, I would have not even given two shits, to be honest, about my coffee. I'd be like, oh, I got coffee this morning. Oh, what varietal is it? I don't care. And now I do. It's one of those beautiful ways of appreciating your own energy, appreciating what you like as a generator, and amplifying it. Okay. So, really stepping in and being aware of your energy and how maybe you've been blocking it or been told to behave differently is part of the awareness with using human design as a self-validation tool and a way to start deconditioning. So, overall, I might have said this even in past episodes in seasons where I'm like, the conditioning or what you've been told, all the shoulds in life. It is the same thing with the human design chart. But here's a fun thing to note. There are areas of your chart that I have never gone into in these episodes that are going to highlight specific areas that you are currently conditioned. These are things that I honestly, as a coach, recommend getting either a personal reading for or when we are in coaching to really analyze these areas because they can bring up a lot of things. They can bring up a lot of emotions, memories, thoughts, things that trigger you that will require a deeper conversation and reflection in order you to move forward, and not something that sometimes is fun to look up on the internet. But through all of this, human design is so wonderful because you get to use this tool as a way to get into alignment, not for performance, not because you want to show up externally a certain way, but because you want to show up true for yourself and you want to have that ease, that peace, that flow, that alignment, because it's remembering who you are. Because just like the client I mentioned, that she was so excited of just being her full self, and it then aligned her to the man that she is now engaged to. That is ease. They had, to be honest, I think they maybe had been dating for less than a year. I will have to double check, but because I love following her on Instagram. But she's been dating this man for less than a year from my knowledge. And this was the exact same thing that happened with me and my husband. The more I started, and this was before I even got into human design, the more I started doing the inner work, and the more I started getting into being my authentic self, the easier it was to show up on dates, the easier it was to make new friends, the easier way it was for me to set boundaries with my family, for me to say, no, I'm not working past 5 o'clock because I have a workout, Mr. Boss or Mrs. Boss. I'm sorry, that's not how it's going to work for me today. Those sort of things. And so it is wonderful how inner work happens and how you can use it for other areas of your life. But human design actually gives you a lot better roadmap than just listening to a podcast episode, listening to a book, mostly because it's not about performing one thing over the next or checking a list. It's about experimentation. So these things that I have already discussed here on the podcast: energy type, strategy, authority, your not self, and your signature themes. These are all things for you to start experimenting with. This will tell you when, oh, I'm in bitterness or resentment as a projector. Okay, I need to write that down. What is this area that's really bothering me right now? Is it how my boss talked to me today? Is it how my friend approached me about who I'm thinking about dating? Is it, something that my parents said? Is it something going on in the world? These are all things that are really important for you to note because they might be themes or certain things in your chart that we have to go over in a one-on-one. Because when we move beyond the basics, this is where you will start to see the areas that you are carrying things that are not for you. If you are on my email list, or if you have gone through and gotten your chart, one of the last emails that you received, I discuss the difference between a defined, an undefined, and maybe even an open center. There are 9 different centers within the human design chart, and each of them stands for something different, and they all behave differently. And they are also what defines your authority. If you really getting into the nitty gritty of human design, when you become more well versed in it as a practitioner, you can actually look at someone's chart and not know anything else, just looking at the visual, and you can say, oh, you're a manifesting generator. Oh, you're a self-projected projector. But these are things that really do influence you. For example, let's just use this. So the spleen, this is the oldest center in human design chart. It is all about instinct, and its shadow side is all about fear. Yes, majority of the things within human design have a shadow. So when you have an undefined or even open spleen, you approach life where you may be influenced by fears that have been placed upon you that were never supposed to be yours in the first place. If you have a defined spleen, I do as myself, you might have different areas where you've been conditioned to have fear, but in your system, like for me, I know in my gut, because I'm a generator, that this fear doesn't really feel like yours. It just feels like maybe stuck energy. So these are things where you need more exploration, as well as when you have an undefined versus defined center. So let me actually go back. A defined will mean your center is colored in. Undefined mean that the little numbers might be colored in, but the whole shape is not colored in. And open means nothing is colored in. So this is how you may be influenced too by the people around you. So I have brought this up, I think, on another episode, that when I run Brad's and my charts together, which that is something that is coming, so keep your eyes open for that. When I run Brad's and my relationship report, what's so interesting is that we are a full connection. We are 9 and 0, meaning all of our centers become defined when we are together. And does that mean that Brad has all the other centers defined and that mine are not? No, it doesn't. It just means that then we both have, this is getting into the nitty gritty here. So that might mean I have one gate on one side and he has another gate on the other side, and they fuse together to create a channel. So we are all connected in different ways based off of how our charts show up and how our auras react to each other. So what is wonderful is knowing that certain areas and certain parts of our chart can really give us a lot of depth to explore these areas for inner work. And not all of them are going to show up at the right time. Maybe there's going to be something around self-worth, or maybe you have a lot of conditioning around expectations and the pressure to show up a certain way. Then I'd be like, okay, well, is your root center undefined? Because if it is, then we should take a look at what's really bothering you right now. Let's look at different areas of your chart to see how it's all impacting each other. And then there's the gates. Those are the little numbers within the centers. So these are the behaviors and even like maybe the stories of how things may play out for you either consciously or unconsciously, depending if it's part of your personality or if it's part of your design. This is where I had a wonderful woman on Instagram ask me, I think it was last week, Wednesday, ask me what the different colors were on your human design chart. So when you look at a human design chart on the right side, whatever color that may be, that's going to be your personality side. And the left-hand side, whatever color that is, that's going to be your design side. Your personality side is your conscious, where if you went to a gate that you have and you read about it and you're like, oh, that's totally me. I get that. That is your personality side. But if you read one and it's the other color and you're like, I don't see that at all, but you're sharing it with a friend, they're like, oh, I can really see that in you. So this is the fun part of where some people may see something in you that you just unconsciously don't. So that's your design side. But those gates all have a different, I would almost say, a frequency. So we'll just call it, because I can't recall what it's really is off the top of my head at this moment. Why am I blanking? It doesn't matter. But there will be a shadow side for every gate. There will be a gift to the gate, and then there will be the highest frequency, the highest form of that gate. So my gate 6 is the first number of my incarnation cross. It is also my sun personality. It is the very top right gate that's listed. So for anyone else that has their human design chart, when you look at that with the numbers and the planets, you're going to see that one at the very, very top, that is 70% of your personality. And when I learned that gate 6 was about connection, and I literally was like, no, this is bullshit. I have issues around self-trust. I have issues with, what happens when I am my authentic self around certain people. I don't feel as I'm really connected to others. I feel really connected to these people, but not really to those people. I learned the shadow of it was conflict. And there was so much more for me to experience in my sun personality. And within my sun gate on my personality side. And the more I have experimented with it, the more I have actually had a taste for it, the more I can see how it really has been part of my story for so long, whether it's been in the shadow, the gift, or the higher frequency, and how that has evolved over time. So no matter what, know for yourself that your incarnation cross is not your life purpose. It is your life theme. And it's something that comes out around the age of 40, as well as it is something that you will be able to reflect back on and see, and be able to see how it's going to impact you in the future when you start making more decisions based off your strategy and your authority. So all of this being said, you're probably like, Molly, this is a lot. I'm like, I know it is a lot. Human design is very in depth, but we're just getting started. We are. So the other area that people like to look at is like, oh, I want to see why these two gates then connect. What is that? I'm like, of course, those are channels. And you can look up these channels, do what I did, which is I looked up everything individually, and I was super overwhelmed. And I put it away, and I would come back to it, and I'd put it away and come back to it. And finally, when I had a reading, I was sat back and said, oh my God, I wish I would have done this in the beginning. So when you have a human design reading, you can ask a question beforehand so that the person can research, which is what I like to do. Not a good question is, when will I find love? I'm not a tarot reader. I'm not a psychic. Using your human design chart, saying like, well, where would I need to work on myself the most around my career or around my love life? Or I've been having XYZ problem here and I don't know where that's coming from. Is there an area of my chart that we could look into? These are really good questions for me to do a little deep dive into your chart and say, okay, it's this open, undefined center, or it's really these gates. It could also be, well, you're showing up in the shadow of your sun personality gate and being like, what does that really mean for you? And really decide where you want this to go within that question of saying, okay, where do I really want to focus on my chart? Where can I get the most out of my chart right now? And by doing that, we can start recognizing patterns, you and me together, where we can say, all right, your energy has been really repetitive here. Let's say you're a reflector. And if you are, please reach out to me because I still have yet to do a one-on-one reading. I would love to do a one-on-one reading for free for a reflector. It would be so much fun to get to know your energy type a little bit more than just what I have learned educationally. So most of the time, if you're a reflector, you are forced to do what everybody's doing in society, but like maybe there's a way that we've started uncovering a pattern for you around those lunar signals for you. Or maybe for you, it's not even right on the lunar signals. Maybe they're lunar time, like it's not with the new moon. Maybe it's a few days after. Or like, how can we shift your energy for that to show up in alignment with the new moon, within the quarter moon, whatever it may be, or even analyzing where certain parts of your chart are really giving you so much more information because you have more gates in maybe a few centers than others. So, all of this being said, human design overall is not an area where you're like, now I have to fix myself. It's a tool that is here for you to really get to know yourself more genuinely. The more I've been able to get into my chart, the more joy I have been able to have, even alone, even just in my day to day, in like between client sessions, when Brad has been out of town, I've been like, all right, let's tap into this joy. Let's tap into this creativity. Let's tap into having gift 11 where it's all about ideas and sharing them for myself or writing them down or being like, oh my gosh, I have this wonderful idea for my friend and her business. Like, let's go through that. There's so much more to you than putting you in a box for just your energy type. And there's so much more to doing the inner work than just listening to a podcast episode. So no matter what, no matter whenever you pull your chart, no matter when you do a reading, no matter if you do coaching or not, know that you cannot just like integrate everything at the same time. That just doesn't work. That'd be like saying, okay, I want you to graduate high school. I want you to get your college degree like the next day, get married, have 5 babies, hurry up and do this and this and this all in a week. Like that's just not, not going to happen. Oh yeah. And don't forget to retire and buy 5 cars and get 10 dogs and move that 6, 7 times. No, this is meant to really bring awareness and experiment with some of the back and forth and test on maybe a few things for yourself. So like one of the things that I'm doing, it's even deeper than what I've already shared with you. There's something that's called the 4 variables within human design. And right now I am working on what's called my digestion type. And my digestion type is hot food. And with that being said, I'm a person that likes consistency. And before COVID, I was a very consistent person. I had my days just very laid out, and they've never been the same since. I used to wake up at 4:45. I would be at swim practice and on deck at 5:15. I'd be in the water at 5:30. I was very strict, not strict, but it was very structured, and I thrived in that environment. And if you're an entrepreneur, you know that life doesn't work like that. Life does not. Life does not work like that. And when you work for yourself and you have your own office and you have your own system, you get to start to create your own set of consistency. And depending within the variables of your human design depends on how much and how little consistency you want. Is it eating at the same time or is it going to bed at the same time? For me, I will tell you, going to bed and waking up at the same time is extremely important for my day. I wish I could actually have more flow in that, but I am way better of a person if I get my 8 to 9 hours of sleep, which is also, I know, very lucky for most people and most entrepreneurs. But if I get that 8 to 9 hours of sleep and I wake up when I'm right around the times that I'm supposed to, I have a fabulous day. If I have 2 hours less than that, like a 7-hour night's sleep, and it is a little rough. So it's noticing those little things within my human design that I'm testing out for myself and not just going from like black to white, yes to no, full on from 0 to 160. Like, I'm not going from that. It's incremental testing. So this is something that I want you to do as well. Because you can meet your chart again, again, and again over time. Know that overall, even if right now you're like, Molly, I don't really think this is what I need to be focusing on, I want you to go back to the last few episodes and I want you to listen to when I talked about the energy types. I want you to listen to your strategy and your authority, because if you practice your strategy and your authority, that's like 60 to 70% of your design. That literally is going to help you get into alignment a little bit more than you already are. You may find conditioning around it, like I already mentioned, but notice that, write it down, journal about it, do the work within that, and you will start to see some of the energy start moving for you. But if you can't do it alone, you know where to go. I'm here for you. But overall, just once again, just know that this journey is a lifelong process. No matter if you decide to use human design for your inner work or your self-transformation, it's a tool that you can utilize, because it's more about liberation from expectations, because your chart gives you permission to operate differently and to test things out so you can evolve over time. No matter what, when we are in a coaching session together or in a reading and we recognize a pattern, this is where real coaching comes in. This is where I mentioned where sometimes we might get into an area that gets a little difficult to talk about. There's the ego center, which is all about self-worth. And if that's undefined or open, there's a lot there to unpack that you've been influenced around, that you maybe be conditioned around. And it might be a struggle to really see your worth, to really trust yourself, to really value what you have to say, what you have to create, how you guide people, and how you even trust yourself to take action. This, to me, is one of the most important areas of the chart that I like to coach around. But I can't just look at your chart and coach you, because I can, because I'm a coach, but a human design reader can sit there and give you tips all day. But this is why I use it as a tool alongside my coaching expertise, as well as using my master's in neurolinguistic programming, because those are tools as well. They are methods to help figure out ways to rewire your brain in the most efficient way possible for you. I think I can't even tell you how many different models there were that I went through in my certification process, but not all the models work for me or for my husband. And this is because we're two different people. So what I loved is that I got to use my husband as my my client. I got to like find a few people to do coaching with, and I was like, no, I'm just going to use my husband, because he was easily available most of the time for assignments. But I wanted to see someone evolve over time. And he has, and I'm going to hopefully bring him back onto the podcast to talk about his NLP experience. But there's certain methods that would work with him, and certain methods that, as I was learning, I was like, this coaching exercise is not going to fly. Like, this isn't going to work at all. But I could see how it could work for a past client or a current client. And these are the next layer of tools that I love to pull out and use when a client is open and willing and ready to use them. Because most of the time, the client doesn't even know that I'm going to, if you're a client, you probably didn't even know if I used an NLP technique with you. But it's a great way to rewrite the stories you're telling yourself, rewrite your beliefs, the ones that are holding you back, the ones that you've been conditioned to believe, and recognize the patterns that are keeping you stuck. So I'm going to hopefully talk a little bit more about NLP in the next few episodes, and how that really will help you return to your authentic self. But know that when you are looking at ways to transform your life, the ways to remove that feeling of stuck, You can keep looking and looking and looking and looking and reading and listening to podcasts. But until you start doing the work, you're not going to transform at all. You have to start believing in yourself and knowing that this transformation that you are so desiring is worth it. You are worth it. And using a variety of tools or going to someone like myself that has these tools in her toolkit that you don't have to start searching for, that you don't have to learn all about. You can just show up and say, I'm ready. It's almost a gift because you don't have to do the heavy lifting of searching and finding and what is the solution. It's okay. I'm going to work with a coach who has these tools in her toolbox, and she's going to help hold me accountable, and she's going to support me along the way. Those are the things that I love to do the most. In fact, I know I mentioned this on my first episode for this season back in March, but I have the channel of 57 and 34. It is a channel called The Power. It is here for self-empowerment. It's for self-transformation, not just for me, but for others as well. And I really cannot believe that that is my only one channel, because it's really what I have loved to do since I found coaching that I wanted to do for other people. I love watching other people just like work through something small, like setting a boundary or recognizing and having an aha moment where they're like, oh my gosh, that person really isn't that dear friend, but this one is. Like, recognizing these little things and seeing just the patterns unravel as stepping stones for them to have those grander transformations, like my one client, where she realized what made her her, like everything from her being bubbly to having a bright yellow Jeep, things that people were like, why do you even have that? Her self-expression made her joyful. Those things brought love into her life for herself, that would made her feel creative. She loved storytelling, so much so that she found a career where she could do that. And lo and behold, once again, because she was able to show up and really love and appreciate herself and did the work for that transformation, she found the man that she gets to be with for the rest of her life. That's amazing. And you know what, to be honest, her story doesn't really stop there. Like, just because someone gets engaged, gets married, gets the job of their dreams, their transformation isn't over. There's still more to come. So if you are one of those that's been waiting and looking, I really invite you to look at yourself and say, what is one area of my life where I have felt like I've been performing instead of just being myself? Journal on that. I really would love it if you would look up your chart, look at who you are designed to be, and if you are ready to go deeper, either in a human design reading, or if you really want support and accountability in your transformation and you're like, Molly, now's the time, all you need to do is reach out and book a session. Go on to my website and do that, because you are not meant to walk alone. None of us are. We are all here to be our beautiful and individual, unique selves, because we have so much to contribute just by being who we are. And we have been in a society that wants us to fit in a box. And you're not a box type of girl. I wasn't, you aren't, because I know if you're listening to this podcast, I know you're not. I know you were not supposed to be in a box. So this is your time, if you feel called, to reach out to me so that I can be here to support you like I did with my last client. Okay, lady. I also want to say that I have some things coming, some resources, and if I get them done before this airs, they will be listed in the show notes. So if you've listened this far, go to the show notes and see if it's there. If it's not, what I'm going to recommend you do, follow me on Instagram between now and the next episode. And if you can, get on my email list because there's something that I cannot wait to share. I cannot wait to share. All right. Have a wonderful day, lady. And thank you so much for joining me. I really have enjoyed sharing all these insights with you this episode. Yeah. All right. I will talk to you in the next episode.
Thank you, lady, for joining me on this journey of aligning, embodying, and rising into your most authentic self. Remember, the most important relationship you have is the one you have with yourself. And when you do the inner work, you naturally attract the love and life meant for you. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to rate and review the show. Your feedback not only helps more women discover the power of self-transformation, but also helps us grow this community. If you're ready to go deeper and align with a relationship and life you truly desire, I invite you to explore my coaching services. Together, we'll use human design, NLP techniques, and self-empowerment tools to help you break through old patterns and create a life that resonates with who you truly are. Visit reinventingthearena.com to learn more and take the next steps in your journey of self-discovery and alignment. Until next time, lady, keep aligning, keep embodying, and keep rising. Thanks for listening to Reinventing the Arena.